All right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of the Coaches Compass. Now, remember, still don't know what episode it is. Still just continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Now, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so you continue to have this thing grow, continue to bring on cool guests from all over the world. Now, I've got another special guest with me here today. I've got Coach Gabe Mason. He is a head strength and conditioning coach at Shepherd University. Coach, thank you and welcome to the Coaches Compass.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. I mean, like we talked about off air, one of the few bye weeks that you got. How was watching college football yesterday?
It was fantastic. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. We obviously have, with the transfer portal, some alumni from this university that are playing at other spaces, and I got to watch some of my good friends play against one another. So can't ever complain about a day to watch some college football, get some regular stuff done for myself.
People overseas don't know what it's like to just have a full day of Saturday, actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday night football. Is one of a kind. But Coach, you're in the college space, and if you look back to your early years or yourself as being an athlete, would you want to be coached by yourself?
That's a fantastic question. Ideally, I would say yes, mostly because of the people that I've been around that I think have blessed me with the capability to understand the athlete's mindset, maybe more than I think that I would have understood as an athlete. I was very fortunate enough. Don't get me wrong, everybody who's watching this, who knows me, knows this already, but I'm a twin if you didn't know that. And my
Okay.
brother's also the director of strength and conditioning at Ashland University right now.
Let's
So
go.
as athletes, we were always together, and he was the one that really kind of introduced us and our family to strength conditioning, the path of sport performance, and we meshed and gelled together as young kids. So I always kind of had him as my own strength conditioning coach, regardless of whether I wanted it or not. He was that person for me. And so we ended up both being in the field, both being in the setting, and ideally, hopefully, both coaching in a way that makes our athletes want to continually get better and enjoy being with us, enjoying the process of what it takes to become ideally elite athletes.
So out of the two of you, who would you say is the better strength and conditioning
He
coach?
is 100% the better strength and conditioning coach. He's the man. Yeah,
Man, look at you
I
being
will
being
say that, and I
honest.
can guarantee you he would probably say the exact same thing about myself, and that's the cool thing about us. But I would not be where I am today without him as a person, as a friend, as a brother. Obviously, I love him more than words could say, but he's the man. So
Yeah.
the next podcast for you, I got your own next person.
So with having a twin brother in the industry, like doing this, like working together, how easy is it for you guys to kind of bounce ideas off each other and not kind of, I would say, you know how it goes in the field, gatekeep, right? Some of the stuff
Absolutely.
that everybody's doing. How much fun is it to have somebody like that?
It's unreal. It's like something you would never imagine, because instead of me looking at my computer screen and staring into my own depth of brain matter for 12 hours a day, I can give him a call and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? What do I think about this? But I've also been, again, blessed with a lot of friendship with a lot of coaches, and I have a lot of connections to people that you've had on the podcast that I could also do the exact same thing with. And I'm very open and honest and transparent about what I do for programming. There's no secrets, nothing for me really to gatekeep. I just want our athletes to run fast, jump high, and be perfect from an athletic standpoint. So the capability to have a brother is great, but I think the capability to have friends just like that is just as nice.
That's always awesome to have other coaches to bounce ideas off of and kind of get their input on what they're doing. And if you're doing it, you know, because all of us have that one time and feeling that you have the imposter syndrome.
Yes,
How
sir.
do you deal with that, you know, as being a younger coach in the industry, and then also for the newer coaches that get in, feeling like they're imposters and not, you know, knowing as they're doing things correctly?
Yeah. I think one of the best things that have helped me with that was my opportunity to be an internship coordinator, both at Arkansas State, where I was at before, and Elon. And whenever I go through those feelings for myself, I have to remember the conversations that I have with former interns and interns while I'm here that says it's completely normal to have imposter syndrome, and you're never going to break through the mold of wanting to be a better coach, to be a better person, to create this perfect program. But in reality, perfection is something that we all chase, that is never going to stop being there, even if you end up at the professional level, wherever you have set your primary career ending based goals or your top spot for yourself. You're always going to be in the mindset of, is this the best thing for me to give my athletes at this time, in this space, with this equipment, at this portion of their career, at this portion of my career? The variables are never going to stop being there. So chasing perfection isn't something that you strive for. You chase the feeling of being the best version of yourself every day and providing the best service for your athletes every day and making their portion of the day that they're with you the best part of their day so that they continue to want to come back and make those progressions, make that easy transition from where they're at now to where they want to
Coach, it's almost like you're already fired up and getting ready to go out to
be.
practice. It sounds like it's flowing already. But, you look back to your first year, even working with, the interns that you had, how hard is it to get some of those interns and even yourself when you first came into this industry to let them know that sometimes it's okay to say no and to set boundaries, to have time for yourself?
Yeah, I think it's, again, mostly about transparency, especially from the coach to intern perspective about what our career field is actually like. And then understanding that wherever you choose to go, you want to try to create that transparent relationship as quickly as possible. And when you have those conversations, you have that ability to be transparent with people. You can give them the ins and outs of what your day to day life looks like. And creating boundaries for yourself as a strength and conditioning coach is very, very difficult. But the faster that you know that you're going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning some days and not be home until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, the faster I can understand whether or not this is a field that is attractive to me in general. And the aspect of us being in the facility all the time, in my opinion, it's not as dreary as people think, because a lot of times, some of that time or most of that time is spent watching your athletes do what they do best. Right. If I have to be at the facility, let's just say for football, I might have 3, 4 football groups. And again, depending on where you're at, we have a relatively large roster size and a relatively small gym space. So we have 3, 4 groups at a time. But the cool thing is I get to go watch 2.5 hours worth of football every day. Like, that's so cool for me. I get to sit and watch an hour worth of men's basketball practice whenever I want. I get to sit and watch an hour worth of volleyball practice, and being able to make the decisions of where I'm at, what my priorities are. And then at the end of the day, for me at least, the goal is to create, again, the athlete that is successful in their sport and successful after on. So you want to watch the athletes do what they came to college to do. We are support. And so we support their true goals. And most of their true goals are to be All Americans, to win conference championships, to win championships at their sport. And so watching the athletes do their sport, I think that's a great way for us to, serotonin dump, adrenaline dump out, and just be as active and participate as highly as we can in what our athletes truly chose college for, and understand that it's a portion of the day, but it's not necessarily a negative portion of the day, as long as I view it as a way for me to give back to my athletes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge part because, we come in to support the athlete, right? Even if you're in the private sector, pro sector, college sector, whatever it is you're there for the athlete, right? And the athlete always comes first. But on top of that, you've got to think about your own self, right? Like
Yeah.
when you think about yourself, when are trying to plan out your days or plan out your off time, what do you do to kind of keep yourself from not feeling like you've overdone it or overstepped your own boundaries and kind of giving yourself a mental break and a time to kind of tune back in?
Yeah. I think there is an aspect of understanding that when I'm at work, I'm at work. And when I'm not at work, I'm not at work. And that takes time for young coaches to develop. But enjoying the free time that you have by yourself is probably the number one aspect that goes into that capability to function from a day to day basis. Because even if it's 30 minutes, even if it's 1 hour, you take that time to be with yourself, to be with your significant other, to be with your family, to be with your friends, because you know that it's not necessarily going to be a all the time thing. But when I'm there, I'm holistically present. I am so far away from worrying about what's going on in my work life, because I like to think that I try to have as much of my work life planned out as possible. You try to make sure that when I am with myself, when I'm doing something, that I'm not worried about that type of stuff. And the way that you get there really is through practice. And it's tough, right? You won't initially do that because you'll always have things flowing through your brain. Did I set this thing right? Did I create this perfect plan that will give me the capability to relax here? What is the coach thinking right now? What is the athlete thinking right now? It does take time for you to develop that mindset that it's okay to, for one, be stressed and not be okay. And for two, disassociate from your work for a little tiny bit. But the longer you're in the field, the more you realize that that time outside is just as important as the time inside.
And I think that's super important for a lot of the younger coaches, even the older coaches, some that are kind of constantly grind all the time, to hear that it's okay to take time away and get it for yourself and kind of be able to be fully holistically there when you're there because you've taken the time away to kind of let yourself kind of recharge and everything. With that, what is a truth in the SNC world that most coaches aren't ready to hear yet?
That's a good question. I think the number one thing is that you're not as good of a coach as you think you are. And that's mostly because there's always things going on in the day-to-day scheme of having every athlete in there that will keep you from doing everything that you want to do. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Sean Smith, who's currently on the football staff at UCLA, was talking about books that he read. And one of the books was Relentless by Tim Grover. And that book, I don't know if you've read it for yourself, but I remember after reading that book, I went and bought it, and gave it to 8 to 10 other people, because that threw my brain for a loop about just digging in, hardcore grinding until you realize that I can be as relentless as possible and I'm still going to miss things. I can be as attentive as I possibly can be, and things are still going to go wrong. So I have to be understanding in some capacity that those things are going to go wrong and plan ahead. But if I'm not attentive to those things that are going to go wrong, then can I truly say that I'm a great coach? And sometimes it's okay, right? I don't know if anybody will ever be the best coach in the field, the best coach in the room. But if you feel like that is the case, then you might not be in the right room. And you should always be trying to find that step to get better for yourself. But the first portion for that is hearing that you're not as good as you think you are.
And that's a tough pill to swallow, especially in this industry, because it's very ego driven, right? A lot of people got a lot of pride in what they do. They got the best program out there. I know the best exercise. I know how to keep you on the field all the time. I know how to bring you back from an injury. Everybody has the best of the best, right? And it's hard to hear that you're not always the best at what you do, even though we strive to be the best at what we do. But
Absolutely.
you've moved around a lot, right? You've gone from multiple different schools. What city do you think truly shaped you the most and helped you become the leader that you are now today?
Man, that's a really good question. I would be out of my mind if I didn't say that Elon, North Carolina is the best place in the entire United States to be if you're looking to either get into strength conditioning or better yourself as a coach, as a sports performance practitioner, or just be around some really, really good people. That place is unlike anything that I've ever been around. The staff there is unreal, and I would not be the person that I am today. I would not have the connections that I have today. I would not have the friends that I have today if I did not take a chance and move to Elon, North Carolina in a summer and tell Nick DeMarco that I wanted to be his best friend. That was about it.
Shout out Elon.
Shout out to Elon.
But beyond, the weight room and the PRs and seeing kids win games, what do you consider success for yourself?
Being able to go to sleep at night happy with what I did in a day. That's about it, right? I think the number one thing is, again, people talk about the relationship building aspect of strength conditioning all the time. But I truly, truly believe that having athletes walk out of your session with smiles on their face, laughing and giggling like it was the best time of their life is way more important than anything that we could do from a weightlifting standpoint, from a PR standpoint, a sprint jump throw standpoint, whatever. There's nothing that you can substitute for happiness. There's nothing that you can substitute for friendship. There's nothing that you can substitute for being present in the space that you are. And the one thing that I use in all of my recruiting presentations that I picked up while I was here is my number one goal for all of these athletes is for them to love each other so much that they're not willing to watch somebody else make a mistake and not say something, right? Love is the strongest thing in the entire universe, right? And if you think back to your parents, they love you. They really do. But man, will they put a beating on you if you did something wrong? And that's okay, right? That is totally okay because they love you and they know that you love them. And I can be hard on somebody that I love. And so trying to create a relationships that's centered around the concept of true love will be as, again, all encompassing as we really want it to be. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything can come in a relationship that's centered around love. And so if the athletes love each other and they love you and they love being around the space that we're in, they love the university that we're at, and they love playing their sport, I think we're in a pretty good space to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one to say too, because, as we talk about love and some of these youth athletes, right? Some of this is hard nowadays for some of them to actually speak up and say what's in somebody's messed up or kind of feel like they're not stepping on somebody's toes. And if you look at your own self, like when you first started in this strength conditioning field and you think back to a pain point or an area where you struggled that kind of helped you and molded you on how you lead nowadays. What was one of those moments?
Man, I got a couple that I can think of, but the first one that's in my mind initially goes back to my first internship, which, sounds odd, but it humbled me right off the bat. I was in Arizona at the time doing my undergrad at Grand Canyon, and I spent a summer interning with Exos Phoenix, which is one of the facilities that I think has some of the best coaches in the entire industry, right? Nick Hill at the time, Natalie Collier at the time, John Barlow at the time. I remember probably 3 weeks in, something was happening with one of the youth groups, and I was working with Natalie Collier, and there was a mess up on my end with setting up some pieces of equipment that I kept like shoving her and other interns off. Like, I got it. Don't worry about it. And it dragged on for way too long. It was way too self-centered of me trying to get done what I needed to get done. And after the session finished, I remember she took me upstairs, Natalie Collier, and she said, "You're not as good of a coach as you think you are. You don't know as much as you think you know. And if you don't get out of that mindset right now, you won't have an internship next week. So start now." And again, it punched me right in the face. It really did. And it changed my perspective on my view for myself. It changed my perspective on my view of what good coaching actually looks like, or really just honest coaching and what it looks like. And that that moment will be forever etched in the front of my brain whenever I think that anything is going perfectly, or whenever I think that I'm above a place where I am. I see and hear that exact moment, and it kind of brings me back down to reality.
Years down the line has brought you back, right? You still remember those same lines
But
of
yeah,
what was said to you before. And it's awesome for Coach Natalie and all the coaches over there at Exos to kind of sit you down and humble you. Because some people will allow you to just keep on going down the same road and not allowing you to grow, right? Or
exactly.
helping you grow. Now, this is a hot take right here. One drill or exercise you think is overrated?
The back squat, the bench press. I mean, don't get me wrong. I say this to all of my athletes. I love strength work. I really, really, really do. I think strong athletes are resilient athletes. But from an exercise variation standpoint, the way that you choose to get to that strength is so different. And there's so many variables that I think picking one and sticking to one your entire career, you're just losing out on opportunities to create resilient, robust, holistically developed athletes. And it might be the best, but it might not be the best. You never really know unless you try something different. So if I have an athlete that just back squats for 4 years and just bench presses for 4 years, how do I really know if I've ever given them the capability to expand this bandwidth of capable athletic performance if I don't try anything else? So short and sweet answer. I think the weight room is great, but your athletic intangibles and your capabilities to be, again, robust and resilient in as many ranges of motion with as many different loading patterns and as many different movement patterns as possible, I think is what does the most for our athletes.
Heck yeah. Finish this sentence for me. Athletes today need more.
Sprinting.
Why is that?
Sprinting is the number one thing in my book to get as much motor unit recruitment, to get as much development as possible in any scenario, from as many positions to start with, as many different distances as possible, through as many planes of motion as possible, with as much competition as possible.
And coach, I know you're already fired up and you're already ready for practice today, but you've got 10 seconds to motivate a room. What do you say?
Be the best version of yourself today.
I love it, baby. I love it. Coach, one last thing now before you get out of here. What's one question you would want us to ask our next guest?
If you had one person that you would want to mentor you right now in your life, who would it be?
Who would it be for you?
Man, I'd still pick my brother. I won't lie, my brother.
I love it.
We've never coached groups of athletes in a room together. We've never worked in a setting together. I've watched him coach 2 times in my life, and he was in the field before I was. So going on year number 7 or 8 on the back end, and I've seen 2 sessions. So I feel like I have a lot to learn from him still.
I love it, baby. So one day we got to get you guys in the same sector, right? Same
Yes, sir.
same teams and everything. But coach, thank you so much for your time today, man. Just hopping on and keeping it real and getting us fired up. You know, I'm already ready to run through a wall too, man. So thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate you guys for having me on. Thank you so much. And again, thank you. I'll put it out there because he told me that he put my name in here, right? Hunter Lakey is the man.
Yeah,
Andrew,
baby.
Andrew Benham is the man. People you should have on just because I'm a plug it, just because that's the person that I am. I think you should get Brian Sikorsky on here, who's another one of our Elon staff members and a part of that friend group. If you can get Nick DeMarco, Jordan Newsma, or Corey Mason, please get on a podcast. That's my boy.
Got you. Boom. And we're out of here, coach.
Thank you. Have a great day.